Hi, Standers. This is Sheila Hollinger from Marriage Revealed Ministries. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this message will bring you encouragement, enlightenment, hope, more understanding about this journey that you are on to marriage restoration. So where do I begin? So when my storm started in 2007, I was a Christian for about 20 years, and I mean Christian as in the term I said the sinner's prayer, went to church when I felt like it, prayed when I felt like it. You know, I lived life according to my flesh, my feelings, my emotions. Didn't take anything real too serious as far as what the Word of God said, if I even bothered to read the Word. I was very much an infant. I walked into that place of saying the sinner's prayer and giving my life to God as an infant, and I stayed an infant. The storm matured me. One of the greatest things that I feel happened to me was about changing what I cared about. When I was an infant, I didn't care. I didn't want to mature. I didn't want to grow up. I didn't have the ability to even understand what that meant. I was blinded and walking in the world and my flesh, and I was happy with that. If I had a feeling, I felt it, reacted in it. I didn't care to explore why I was feeling what I was feeling. I didn't care if it bothered God that I was a prideful person or an arrogant person or that I hated people, or it just didn't bother me. I never even cared to consider God's feelings. The storm changed all that. The marriage storm. When my marriage fell apart, I started to care enough to go to God and say, I want my marriage fixed. Still didn't care about fixing me, didn't care about changing and being transformed into His image. None of that was important to me. And so when I went to God, I went to Him with one purpose, and that was, God, save what I do care about. Save my marriage, save my comfortableness in my life. I want to go back to being comfortable. And God, I'm sure, was super happy that I was finally coming to Him with a big enough problem that He got my attention. I'm sure He finally looked at me and said, she finally sees something worth coming to me for and staying at my feet, seeking me, knocking, constantly knocking. I'm pretty sure over the years I would go to Him with a quick rap on the door and say, hey, I need help with this. And if I didn't get an answer, I just quickly left and went about my business and found my own way of helping myself. God, I wasn't into that, standing at that door and knocking desperately, because I wasn't desperate about anything. Nothing in my life caused me to be that desperate, to stand at that door and bang with all of my strength, all of my heart, right? Nothing. So I didn't need God that way, and I didn't like having to be that type of person. I wanted something, I wanted it now, I wanted it fixed, and I was going to go and do it myself, because God, I wasn't into that wait on God, do His way, surrender. I didn't understand it. It frustrated me, and so I didn't pursue it. And when my marriage broke, I still wasn't that type of person. I tried everything to quickly run to the door, knock, God help me, help me, help me. And nope, it didn't open, didn't get the answers I needed. So I'd run off and go do what I needed to do to fix my spouse, fix my marriage. Did everything I could, went to people, went to different situations to get help. And I'm so glad that every door was kept closed. God stopped any progress through my efforts. He didn't let my spouse listen to me. He didn't let the numerous people that I sent to my spouse, He didn't let my spouse listen to them. He let it get worse and worse. So I finally started coming to that door and knocking out of a place of, God, help. I've tried this, I've tried that, I've sent this person, I've sent that person, nothing's working. And I got to a point in my heart and in my life that I said, if I'm gonna fight for my marriage, I can't fight the way I've been fighting because nothing's working. He got me to a place where I started to see that the only place that was available to me was planting myself at his feet and surrendering my heart and my life and my efforts, everything. I had to surrender it to him. And then what I got in exchange was not what I wanted. I wanted God to fix my marriage. I wanted God to fix my husband. And what I got in the beginning was God saying, okay, we're going to work on you, Sheila. And I didn't want that. But I'm so glad that God doesn't go according to what we want. He goes according to what is good for us, because his heart is for us. And he comes against our pride. He comes against our immaturity, our rebellion, our selfishness, our blindness. He comes against all of that because he knows every bit of that is not good for us. So he used my storm to change what I cared about. The person I am today, I care deeply about growing and maturing. I care about when I have a feeling that causes me to react badly. I care now to dig and discover what's going on with me. I didn't care about any of that before. It didn't matter to me. But I care now. And the reasons I care now came to me through standing, through suffering. I don't care to be happy. Happy is not part of what I seek in my daily life. And I spoke on October 18th on the message of being happy and falling for the lie that our spouses are happy, because the world puts out this message that that's our ultimate goal in life, is to be happy. I don't want to be happy. I want security. I want peace and all those things that come with knowing that I am doing right in the will of God. I would rather suffer as long as I know that I am doing what God needs me to do than be happy and walking in a sin and being misled and destroyed, all because I'm trying to be happy. Happiness is fleeting. I want the joy of the Lord, which is a comforting knowing that I am walking according to God's will, his plan, his purpose. I want to hear him say to me that he knew me, he knows me, that intimacy that he talks about when he says that we do all these things in his name, right? We do all these things for him, but yet you don't have an intimacy. He doesn't know who you are intimately. You don't know who he is intimately. And that's why that scripture says that for those that don't know him in that intimate way, they're going to hear the words, "Depart from me. I never knew you." I care about that now. I didn't care about that before. And because now that I care, everything about how I approach life, how I handle life, is being transformed more and more and more. That all came through standing. So many times we get caught up in the, all I care about is my spouse will not talk to me. He's gone no contact. She's gone no contact. And you're so fixed on making your whole stand about, what do I do to get my spouse to talk to me again? So you have to think about that. Why are you so fixed on that? Could it be that if you get them to talk to you, that you're still focused on, if I can get them to talk to me, then I can change them. I can win them back. I can get them to see that I've changed. So that could be an issue in your life, that you still believe that this is about you doing something to get them to love you again, to be restored to your marriage. Instead of God has got them in a place that He is working on them to repair His relationship with them, just like He's got you in a place where He's trying to get you to care about your relationship with Him, your intimate relationship with Him, so you get through that narrow gate. And one of the things that happens to us is we get distracted, so distracted by, I need God to fix that I can't talk to my spouse. I need God to fix that I can't do this or I can't do that. Or if He would just, set my spouse free from that other person, then that person would no longer, we blame that other person. Oh, my spouse would be home with me right now if that other person would just, go away. Well, your spouse might come home for a short time. Mine did. But then the next person came, and the next person came, and the next person came, because it wasn't that stronghold that I thought it was. It wasn't the other person's fault. They were just in their own strongholds. They were only being used by the enemy. My spouse just kept falling over and over and over for the same snare, the same trap, because of a heart issue. And I've shared more than one time about the hard heart and these snares, the adulterous spirit. These are all videos on our YouTube channel that you can check out and understand, gain more understanding of the snares that our spouses fall into and why. When you have that deep, personal, intimate relationship with Jesus that you need, you become aware of the snares, of the pitfalls that are out there to devour us. The enemy comes roaming like a lion to devour us. But when you are intimate with God and you know Him, see, the problem was I didn't know Him, and I didn't care to know Him. I had no desire to get to know someone that just was too complex. I wanted a simpler life where I just could feel what I was feeling and live by my feelings. And again, standing changed all that. God started to show me that living in a situation where if I was upset, I just stayed upset. I didn't dig. God started to show me that that's not acceptable behavior. If you're walking around and you're just living in your emotions and living in your feelings, then you are not walking in the fruit of the Spirit, which is self-control, having this understanding that you are living in your flesh. That was a huge awakening to me when I was like, wow, I need to start learning what it means to live in the fruit of the Spirit. What is self-control? What is faith? So that was one of the things, and it took a lot of work. It's not easy to realize, okay, I'm angry today. You can either stay angry or you can start self-examining and start praying about yourself. Why am I angry? It's so easy to say, well, duh, I'm angry because of what they're doing. They're hurting me. That's not always the case. Sometimes you're angry because you are reacting out of self-pity. Sometimes you're angry because you're not getting your way. You're rebelling. Sometimes you're angry because you've misunderstood something. You've made it all about you. You've taken it personal. Sometimes you're hurt by things that you shouldn't be hurt over. You're putting yourself above certain things. There's so many different ways and things to explore. And that's what God took me on in this journey for He's still, this is an everyday journey. It's not over. When I wake up and I am not right, there's something in me that's insecure, right? I told you I wanted security in life. When I'm impatient, there's all these things that could be going on. You could wake up and you could be fearful, impatient, prideful, stubborn. You could be calloused, numb. All these different things could make up your emotions and your mood for the day. And the next day, completely different set of things that are going on with you. But the main thing is that you wake up and you say, I feel this. I don't know why. But I don't want to sweep it under the carpet. I want to discover what's going on with me. Because when you feel fear, your prayers are prayed through fear. You react through fear. You're led by fear. We just say, oh, I'm afraid, and that's okay. And I live my life now in this place of fear, and I get guided by fear. I react by fear. I pray all these ways for God to help me, and I pray through fear. Not combating the fear, not exposing the fear. Same with impatience. You do things out of impatience. You pray out of impatience. You're guided by impatience. Same with pride. That's why all of these things have to go. You have to take notice of what's going on in you. And you have to say, you know what? It's time to grow up. I shouldn't be waking up at the same level of maturity as I was the day I said the sinner's prayer. And I did. I lived that way for a very long time until I started to have my eyes opened and I thought, I haven't grown at all. I'm still this immature, flesh-led person, feeling-led person that doesn't care that I live my life like this. And I'm still so far from where I want to be. I've changed dramatically, but I'm still so far. I still have meltdowns. I still have rebellion. And thank you for all who reached out and, gave me some support and comforting words over my little meltdown. It was hard. I had to let go of the magazine, and it triggered an absolute meltdown in me. I don't like failing. I don't like feeling like I let God down. I don't like, feeling disappointment. That was my source of income. And I was so happy to finally bring in some income for our family. It's been a real struggle financially over the last few years. And it was really hard to let that go. But it just wasn't working. It was just too much for one person. And I realized through all of that, I was like, God, I have some serious issues in my heart that either I am going to have to really press into you and seek why I'm struggling. And I just didn't have it in me. I was so exhausted from combating the emotional frustrations that I just wanted to rebel. I wanted to go into a place of hard-hearted rebellion, but God wouldn't let me do that. So instead, I went into a place of rebellion where, while my heart wasn't hard, I was frustrated. I was disappointed in myself. So many things. I can't even explain it. But this is a little bit of insight of what goes on with behind the scenes in your spouse. When they're frustrated with life, when they're not, having the life that they feel comfortable and secure in, they will start to rebel and they'll start to get angry at God and they'll start to feel disappointed or afraid of disappointing God, and they have choices. Either they have to seek God and heal from it and figure it out, or they just go totally hard-hearted and walk away. And I'm so glad God didn't let me get to that point, right? Not to the point where our spouses get completely hard in heart and walk away. They walk away from God, the marriage, their families. And they just said, you know what? Reset, do over. That's what they think they're going to do. It doesn't work that way, because God doesn't reset and do over. Not in the way that our spouses are trying to recreate their lives. So my little mini meltdown was really because I was very upset at having to lose my income, having to lose this feeling that I was working and helping, and this belief that I was letting God down, this disappointment, just a lot of different things that I was facing. And so, the whole time that I was going through it, though, it was like I was gaining some new perspective, new understanding of what possibly our spouses go through when they're facing their own issues in life, their own areas where they just can't seem to discover why they're struggling, and how it can really become a place of frustration and torment. Especially if their frustration is because they can't get you, the stander, maybe to respect them. If they've done all that they can do and they're running into a brick wall constantly, and it's like they're just done. We have a lot of standers who will say, I realize my spouse complained to me for years about my lack of respect, complained to me for years about me being, controlling, manipulating, jealous, spending problems, or not taking their advice and raising the children the way I wanted to. And I just ignored all the warnings. And I didn't see how frustrated they were and how upset they were. And I ignored it. I am not blaming the stander. Please understand that I am not putting this on you, because your spouse was supposed to go about fixing what was broken the right way, not by entering into adultery, not by giving up, not by seeking and being turned over to the enemy. That's not the right way. There's a biblically right way to handle broken areas in your marriage. And everyone has that choice. You have a choice how you handle problems, how you handle being disrespected. And my spouse didn't handle it the right way, just like I wasn't handling my life the right way. So it's not your fault that your spouse did what they did, in the sense that they had a choice on how. If they have some real serious issue, just like you have a serious issue with certain things, we always have a choice. And maturity, spiritual maturity, teaches us that. You're going to find that there's a lot of spouses that didn't have the spiritual intimacy with Jesus. They might know the word, they might go to church, but the moment things got too tough for them, the moment that enemy came and tempted them and lured them, they were out of there. Because they didn't have that anchor that roots them, grounds them, transplants them solidly into Him. I didn't have it. My husband didn't have it. He grew up going to church. I went to church. Oh, gosh, I don't even want to get into that, but I was basically forced to go, and I would just sit in the car. I hated going. I fought my mom on it. So no, I didn't have that relationship with God, even though my mom was a strong Christian. So my husband went to church. And then when we met, we were in high school. He wasn't going anymore. We didn't go again until we both started going to church. But again, we say the sinner's prayer, and you know what? You stay as an infant. You go when you feel like it. You go when you think, oh, I need to check off those boxes. You cry out to God when you really need to. And then you put God away when you're finished. That's not an intimate relationship. That's when Jesus says, I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. It's a two-way thing. Of course, he knows who you are. He knows you're living in the flesh. He knows that you're serving yourself. And he's saying, I want to know you. I want you to know me. Standing will change that for you. Change what you care about. Change what you desire. So all the things that make standing hard are the things that we fight with it within ourselves. We fight our pride. We fight our, jealousy. We fight our immaturity. These are things that God wants to change in us, that need to change in us. So the best advice that I can give you, the best encouragement I can give you is every day, just be open and aware of your feelings. Dig through them. Don't be okay with just walking around in the state you're in. Press into, if I'm upset, why am I upset? Grow. Grow in him. Don't let pride, self-pity, anger, and hurt suppress you and keep you in a place where you're not growing and it's distracting you. So I love you guys. I thank you for joining me. I know this message was a little different. It's just something on my heart, something I'm going through. But it's all good, right? It's all good because we're growing in him. We're learning in him. We're pressing in. That's what children of God do. They press in. God bless you guys. I love you. Thank you for joining me.